Happy Monday! Thanks for joining me here. Tonight we are working on our little Aurifill block of the month, but we are working on putting cornerstones in it. So these are all going to be small little blocks that go in between the sashing or the inner borders of our quilt. And we've decided to do a whole bunch of different common quilt blocks for that. So we're going to continue that tonight. It is free week. Thanks for joining me here. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make cute embroidery kits for beginning crafters. And I'm here every weeknight, Monday through Friday at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And it's a time that we can relax and craft together. So like I said, we are kind of continuing on the Aurifill block of the month. This was last year's project, but we just made the blocks. We didn't make the quilt. So we have sashing cut already. It is huge. We're making super wide sashing. Just so I can make the quilt a little bit bigger. I thought it'd be kind of fun. It's also using up fabric from the quilt, basically. So I didn't repeat any fabrics in the quilt, so each block, so we're kind of running through a lot of fabric, so I thought, well, let's use it up with the sashing. And then right now we're making these kind of cornerstones, so these are small little blocks that will go in between all of these sashing pieces. And I was thinking a fun way to do that was to just have a little project of making a bunch of blocks that are common quilt blocks that are used in a lot of other quilt blocks. Like they're used as building blocks for quilts, like a little half square triangle here. And I made a whole list of them. I drew them out, and we are just going to kind of run through those. So this is my fun little way to still kind of learn something for myself on this quilt before we sew it all together. And I'm having fun. And we're using up fabric. That's the goal too. So thanks again for joining me. Let's get going, you guys. All right. Thank you for popping in again, everyone. It is nice seeing you over on the Facey pages and YouTube. All right, so we have 3 of these done already. I have my basket of stuff. This is my project basket here, so we're actually going to need to move this. These are the fabrics left over, so a whole bin. I mean, we could probably make a whole nother quilt out of this easy. We'll probably make the backing from these pieces too. We'll just start sewing them together. But for now, I'm going to we'll need some of that fabric, but I'm also going to need access to my gray fabric. We are using this gray in every single piece. So each one of these, I want a little bit of that gray, because that gray's in all of our blocks. So here's the actual blocks from the quilt. We've used that gray in every single one to kind of tie them all together. And I didn't use any of it for the sashing, so that's why I want to kind of bring it back now. Here's our kind of our quickie quilt design here. So we would have our blocks, our really fat sashing, and then the cornerstones would go in the middle. But we've extended it so that the cornerstones, these squares, go all the way on the outside. So I think we need 20 total. We've got 3 of them done. We might do a little fun border on this. We'll see. This is my little guide for this project. I'm keeping it all together here. So let's start making a few more of these blocks. That's kind of the update on all that. I'm going to throw these guys on the floor for now, so I have some space here. And I'm going to get down a little bit lower. Let's probably just stay here. So here's what we have going on here. So I've drawn out, I just looked up, based on your comments, so I asked in the Facebook group and on YouTube, what are some just common quilt blocks that we should try. So I put together a list of 20, and we've done 3 of them already. So HST, that stands for half square triangle. It looks like that. That's this fella right here. We've done the economy block. So I've never done that before. So the economy block, that's this one. So we got basically like a square and a square and a square is what it looks like. That's the economy block. That was kind of fun. And then we've also done the square in a square. So that's just like 2 squares instead of 3 squares. So it looks really similar, but it was actually, we made them quite differently. So that was kind of fun as well. So, all right, those are our 3 so far. I was thinking we just kind of start at the top here and go down. One thing I'm noticing is I have a few of them where I'm going to need a bunch of 2.5-inch gray squares. So like this flying geese, it's actually called an arrowhead, I think, when there's 2 flying geese units together. So I'm going to need 4 2.5-inch squares for that. I'm going to need 2 for this, so we're up to 6. And I think I'll need 1 for this log cabin down here. So that's 7. So I could use, I mean, we probably need more, but I could use at least 7 2.5-inch squares out of this gray. So I think I'm going to start there. And then I'll go through and see what else we need. I think I'll skip this one because that one doesn't use the squares right off the bat. So I think our next 3 are going to be the flying geese unit, or the flying geese, or the arrowhead here, the 4-patch, and then we'll do the log cabin. And then we'll probably bump back up to this rail fence. I would like to finish several of these a day this week. So let's just kind of see how it goes. Okay, these guys can go to the side. So ultimately we're ending up with 4.5-inch blocks, and they will end up being 4 inches once they're in the quilt. So we have an extra 1/4 inch all the way around, so meaning we have a 1/4 inch on each side. So that's a 1/2 inch. So these are 4.5 inches. In the quilt, they'll be 4 inches, if that makes sense. Oh, Jennifer's asking, yeah. All right, let me just scroll down, check your comments here. Okay, good. I can see everyone now. All right, let's give this a go. So like I said, I think I need about 7 2.5-inch squares of the gray. So let's just start cutting there, and I'm going to use some bigger cutters than that. Let's get this guy out. And a ruler and a rotary cutter we will want as well. And we've chopped this thing all up, so it's going to be tough finding just like some nice straight edges to cut some 2.5-inch squares, but we're going to do our best here. What do we got going on here? Yeah. All right, here we could maybe start cutting. How wide is this? Ugh, I got a lot going on here. I think, let's just keep searching. This is just silly. All right, I think we might end up folding this in half just to get a few out of here. There we go. I am going to just fold, and we will chop off. We'll cut a nice clean edge here, and then another 2.5 inches, and we'll give that a go. I think this fold, let's get that on a line so it unfolds relatively straight. And let's see, do I have any tick marks coming out of here? No. All right, so I'm going to actually scooch it just a hair over. I'm going to cut on this line here. We'll get a nice clean edge. Let's get the cutting glove. I'm afraid to cut without this nowadays. All right, there we are. All right, you are a scrap. Okay, and I think we'll do that double ruler method of cutting just because I don't want to, if I move anything, I'm going to lose this nice edge here. So instead of moving all my fabric so I can cut another piece with this ruler, I'm just going to line this ruler up at 2.5 inches. Then I'm not moving my nice edge that I already cut. 2.5, 2.5, and we will cut this line now. All right, now I can move that second ruler. Okay, excellent. So I'm going to just put all this aside for now. That's just going to be bulky and in the way. And this is that fabric that hasn't been the nicest to work with. Oh, you do the double ruler method all the time? Yeah, it's helpful when you need it, for sure. All right, I'm just looking to see if I have any weird cuts in here. I think I will just try trimming a bunch of 2.5 inches out of here. So I think I'm just going to line it to this bottom edge here. So this I'm going to trim, and then I probably will rotate this to cut the rest, because it is kind of, I do like being able to just trim with one ruler when possible. All right, those scraps can go, and now we'll rotate it. Since now when I rotate it, I'm not going to mess up all my stuff here. So all right, now I can more easily do the 2.5 inches. Let's see how many we get out of here. We'll just get however many we get, and then we'll just cut more when we need it later. So that's 2, 4. So that's enough for the flying geese one. Okay, 6. Good, we're gonna have more than what we need. I'm sure we'll need another 2.5 inch square in this. So right now we have 1 extra, and I think I might just get another one out of here too. Actually, I'm going to save this. I think there's that one other block that we need like 1.5 inch bits out of here. You know what? I'm here cutting 2.5 inch squares. I'm going to assume that I need another one. Let's just do it. All right. That makes me feel better. I couldn't just leave one sitting there. All right. Let's grab all these fellers. Okay, and we're making the flying geese unit first. So, okay, the other pieces we're gonna need. All right, in the quilt it'll be 4 inches. That's why 4-inch squares are easy to figure out, because we can just divide this in half. So this bottom edge will be 4 inches, and we divide this in half. So these are rectangles that are going to be 2 inches. But then you have to, once you have the size, then you have to add that 1/2 inch, because we need a 1/4 inch all the way around. So we'll actually need 2 pieces that are 4.5 inches wide and 2.5 inches tall. So 4.5 by 2.5. And let's pick one of our colors. So I am trying to get all the colors different in here as well, since we do have a ton of them. So, all right. Let's just, sitting on top here. Well, we got this guy. I don't think we've used him yet, have we? I'm just kind of grabbing from the top. Nope. All right. No reason we can't use it. We're going to be using all of these, so let's just chop a piece off of here. I think first we'll give this a quick press. I do have the iron on, and that will just make it a bit easier to trim these. I am going to just probably chop a bit off of here. Let's see. We'll need 9 inches worth. Oh, this is plenty. So I will do 9 inches by 2.5 inches, and then we'll cut it in half for those 2 4.5 inches. Okay, I think I got it. I gotta talk it through. Oh, Lisa's saying, glad I have the glove. Yes, I have seen just far too many Facebook horror stories of people I'm at the hospital because I have cut through my finger, and just with rotary cutters and stuff. I just now that I'm used to wearing it, I kind of freak out. I don't freak out, but I don't know, I'm kind of anxious when I don't wear it. So this is one of those, oh geez, see, now I'm cutting crooked too. Should have just stopped talking when I cut. That's the problem, right? Let's do the double ruler method again here, just because then I don't have to move it around. 2.5 inches. We're going to have extra, but like I said, I'm going to probably sew all these pieces together when we're done. Make the backing of the quilt, the back of the quilt. So I'm 2.5. Ugh, least favorite part is all this cutting, and that didn't quite feel right. Yep, thought I felt it give a little there. We just changed this blade too, so I don't know. Maybe it was just a dud of a blade. All right, so I'm probably gonna not use this piece anymore in these cornerstones that we're making, and when I'm done with them, I'm kind of putting them in here for now. So these will all become the back of the quilt eventually, but I'm just trying to have them separated from the ones that I'm using for these cornerstones. All right, I'm gonna get two, let's just fold this to get our pieces. I'm gonna get two 4.5-inch pieces, so I need that nice edge first, and we'll have a little chunk left over. But I'm not worried about all that. We'll use them all up. I kind of like this, just these playing around projects like this. This is sort of something that I've always kind of wanted to do. Man, I just need to know the basics of like quilt blocks and stuff. So that's kind of what I feel like. That's just like a lingering thought. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. So I'm excited that we've built it into a project a little bit. Yep, 4.5-inch. So this should be as wide as our blocks are going to end up being. I'm doing that double ruler method again so I don't move things around. 4.5. Move that a hair. And zoop. All right. Out of here, rulers. Okay, so we have a cute little piece left over that will sew onto something at some point. I'm just going to toss it in the bin here. All right, we can actually sew now. So this is going to be our flying geese units. So to regroup here, that is this block right here. It's actually sometimes called an arrowhead. It's 2 actual flying geese units, so we'll make each of them separate. And it's 2 of these, and we need 4 of the 2.5-inch squares. So that's 3, 4. Okay, so we're going to start off by sewing the diagonal. Really, we should draw the diagonal on there, but that's going to be tough. So I'm going to just aim. I'm going to just start at this middle point here, and I'm going to aim for this point and hope that my aim is just fine. We can correct that a little bit when we press. Typically, you want to draw a line on here. You can even put a fold in, so like you can just, I mean, we could iron a fold in, but you can put a fold, like a finger press a fold in, and then you'd have a little line on there. But this fabric is so kind of wonky in general. It moves around a lot, and you wouldn't be able to see anything drawn on there. So it's just, I'm going to just guess. I'm going to just start right here, and I'm going to aim for that corner, and these don't have to be perfect. So, all right, we'll do one side first. And that'll flip, then we'll like iron it, and that'll flip up like that, and then we'll do the second piece and do the diagonal that way, and then press it up like that, and then this is a flying geese unit. So that is one flying geese unit, and then once we have the other one done, we will sew those together, and that's the plan. So that's what we're going for. So let's sew both sides on one, then we have to press, and then we'll do both sides on the other. All right, so we got a plan. Happy about that. All right, I have not been on the sewing machine forever, it seems. Okay, we're not even gonna have my 1/4 inch seam allowance guy there. We are just gonna go tonight. Oh, let's start with a leader though. Gotta move my little thing there. Okay. Oh gosh, I can tell we did paper piecing last time because my stitch length is really short. There we go, that feels better. And now that I'm remembering that we did paper piecing, I'm kind of thinking we should maybe change the needle, because that paper piecing can take a lot out of a needle. All right, there's our first one. I'm just kind of aiming. I didn't do a great job, but I did a good enough job. So when I sew like triangles together or like squares where I have to do it like at a point, I try not to sew from the point in. I try to go from the inside out, because when you're like this at a point, there's not much for the feed dogs to grab, so those claws that pull the fabric along. And this is where you can the sewing machine will just push the corner down into the sewing machine, and you'll end up with a crazy nest of threads, and it sucks. A way to help with that is to just turn it around, and then you have this long edge here that will grab, and it's less likely to get sucked down into the machine. So that's why I'm doing it on here. So I'm just kind of aiming. Here's my point. I'm just literally trying to aim, since I didn't draw a line on there. All right, I'm going to grab a leader. Keep some of these near tonight. This is from that Leader and Ender project. This is just to help take my pieces on and off the machine, and then we're turning it into a quilt later. All right, so we have our first pieces here. So oftentimes you will cut this edge off first, so then we'll have our 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then you can press. But my mom showed me a great way of doing this, and I've done it this way since. So instead of cutting it first, I'm gonna press it first, because we still have a nice square edge here, and if I press it first, then these edges, I can place it up against the edges here and get this all nice and square. So that's what I'm gonna do here. And then I can open it up again and cut off those extra bits. So let's just do this one first, and press this one up right away as well. So I'm matching up those edges. This fabric's really stretchy, so we can kind of force it to go where we want it to go, which is nice. All right, so that's that. I'm going to cut the edges with just a scissors. You can use a rotary cutter if you want, but I'm going to move this back. We don't want to cut that piece. That's our piece that we want. It's just this excess underneath. So I'm going to cut it as if it's just like a 1/4 inch away. There's our 1/4 inch seam allowance, roughly 1/4 inch. And that is the first half of our flying geese unit. We'll have a couple little triangles for later, for something else, or for the trash. That's fine too. All right. So this kind of ekes people out sometimes, just cutting this with a scissors. So if you want, you can fold this all the way back and then put a ruler on this line at a 1/4 inch, and then you can use your rotary cutter. That's fine too. All right, let's do our second piece. So I'm going to align it with this opposite edge now, both of them, and we'll sew again from the middle down the diagonal, and it'll be going that other direction. Okay, scissors in my way. So this is where I like getting my stiletto in here will help guide it. It'll help me aim. Alright, and then we'll do this other guy here. Get in there. Alright, and another leader. Just get the one piece here. Ooh, I suspect that we're pretty dirty under here too. I think that was just reflecting a little bit. Yep, we'll have to clean and update the machine again before we dig in too much. Probably before next week when we do all of the granny square quilt again. We'll want to clean it up. Okay. Now we gotta do that iron and line it up method. Oh, Jenna says, my mind is blown by the iron then cut out method. Brilliant, Mom. Yep. It makes sense, because otherwise you would have already cut it, right? So you would have a piece that looks like this. You've cut your seam allowance, and then you just kind of be pressing, and it would be just going wherever, which is fine. But if you want it, like, even better, like nice and square, this using the edges that are already there as a guide is really helpful, especially if you didn't sew quite straight, which is definitely me all the time. All right. There is one flying geese unit. We still have to trim. And if you accidentally forget to trim this and you have just this bulk and you end up sewing it into your quilt, who cares? It'll just be a little bit bulkier right at that moment. It's not going to hurt anything. All right. And here is this second one. Now all we have to do is trim that seam allowance off again. And we still have to sew these two together. So this is another super basic quilt block, or quilt unit, I should say. This flying geese unit. This is made, or you can use these to make a zillion other things. We're going to just put the two together like this, but we could put it together like this, and then we'd have a square. You know, can do all sorts of things with it when you have a bunch of them. Or, you know, if you have another square, like this is what, I mean, they can be used as starting to build with other blocks. You know, if we put them on the sides here like this, then we all of a sudden have a star starting. Like if we had two more here, like one here and one here, then we'd have a star. So these are good building blocks for other things. So here, look, we got the start of a star. You stick another 2.5-inch thing there, and now we got some other thing going on here. So you just build with these blocks. That's what's so kind of neat about having a little bit better understanding, and that's what I'm trying to go for here. All right, so to finish up this block, we're going to sew these two together like so. You know, at this point, a lot of times people measure and trim. Let's just do a quick look at these. They should be 4.5 inches by 2.5. So let's, all right. That's 2.5 and 4.5. Okay, we're fine. I know sometimes, though, this is where I'm like, oh, yeah, I forgot to trim. So, all right, let's fold this one up here. And I could maybe clip this, but I think we're just going to wing it. One thing I do want to try for, though, is when I sew my 1/4 inch, I am going to try and go right through where these seams cross. It should be right at the 1/4 inch line, and I'm hoping it is. So that's the plan. And I'm doing that so I have a nice point there, so it's not, so don't accidentally clip my little point or anything like that. I want to be able to see the nice point. So I don't have my 1/4 inch seam guide on here. I'm just guessing based that I know that if I'm just like a 32nd or so of an inch past my foot, that I've measured that before, and that's my 1/4 inch. So I'm just kind of using that as my guide tonight. All right, so I'm going right over that point, which is what I want, and now straight on to the end. And let's get this guy in there to get this off my machine. All right, there we go. And we should have ourselves a cute little block here. There we go. So, yep, I didn't clip that point, so I think we did a pretty good job there. It should be touching the seam, like right touching. So I could have gone a hair in a little bit more maybe, but I didn't want to clip it, so I think we're fine there. Let's press this. It feels like it wants to go this way, so I'm just going to press it that way. Like this point's pushing the fabric that way, so let's just go with it. You could press it open, I suppose, but meh. All right, so just getting it on the back there, and let's get it on the front. And we have another one to check off. That's cute. All right, so we're up to 4. They're looking awfully sweet, though. I'm totally liking this. So, all right, I got my pencil here. I got to mark them off as I go, otherwise I'll forget. Okay, there we go. The arrowhead or the flying geese units. That guy is done. I would love to do a whole quilt like this, just stripes like this, or even just like a border would be so fun. I do like the look of these a lot, the flying geese unit. That's on my list, in my mental list of like a project I need to do sometime, is a quilt with a whole lot of these guys in. All right, so we do have our 2.5 inch squares here yet. So I'd like to get another one of those done. So like I want to just do this 4 patch really quickly here, and that's just 4. Oh, there is a better way to do this than just sewing pieces together. You can sew strips together to do this, but I already have pieces cut, so we're going to do it the old-fashioned way. So let's just cut 2 more 2.5 inch squares, and then we'll get this one done. So let's pick another fabric. And, this guy is just on top, so maybe we do this. This is kind of a different fabric. This would be awfully pretty. We can actually see what it'll look like. This will be our block kind of like that. That's awfully sweet. I don't mind that. It's a little different, this, but I like being able to see, like it's not as bright as some of our other ones, but I kind of like seeing the pattern in here, so I'm okay with this one. And I don't even think I need to iron this. Let's just cut. And we'll have a little extra. There's selvage up here too. So let's just trim this. I think I can use my little baby guy here. Yeah, we'll use the big one yet. I feel like my space is a bit small for this today. Can never have a big enough craft space, I suppose. This small space works just fine. Oh, Colleen says you can draw the flying geese and paper piecing in a whole row. Yeah, there are, with a lot of these blocks that we're doing, there are so many tricks. So we're probably using hardly any of them. But since these blocks are such common blocks and are so often used, people over time have come up with all sorts of ways to make it easier than what we're doing, which is cutting each piece by itself. There's faster and easier ways, and we'll do a few of them. Like I know with that the rail fence one, we'll use a little trick of just cutting strips for that one, and really I could have done that with this 4 patch block too, but well. It's a little different when all these tips and tricks, some of those only work well if you're making like a zillion of the same one. So if we were making a whole quilt that was all like these flying geese units, or what were all the 4 patches that we're doing now, we would be doing some bulk cutting and some bulk sewing. We'd be using some other tricks. But since we're doing just kind of all these little one-offs and we're using different fabric and all that, it's maybe even more than a little. We're getting less efficient. That's the dealio. But oh well, that's how we're playing this game. Hey, we did cut extra of these though right away, so that's something. All right, this will be a quick, easy one. We're just basically sewing 2 squares together, and then sewing those groups of 2 squares together. Nothing to it. But again, it's another one of those basic blocks that are just you use all the time. All right, so I'm just going to sew both of these down, and then we'll press them, and then we'll rotate one, and then we will have our pieces to sew together. But for now, I'm going to keep them all in the same direction. That'll just make it easier to press, and if we keep it the same now, then we can nest our seams together later too. So let's just do this guy. Oh, I probably should just put the purple down, because the purple's stretchier, and you typically want your stretchier fabric down. I think I'm going to do that this time. Let's put the stretchy fabric down, because it pulls through the machine better. It doesn't slide as much on the top. Big on the bottom. All right, grab those guys. I'm just gonna throw the mat right on here. So now let's press them both in the same direction. Okay, there's one. All right, so now we just rotate one and sew those together. And we should have, so our seams are pressed in the opposite directions now because we rotated one 180 degrees. So now we can bump the folds of those seams together. That's called nesting the seam, and then that's how we're going to get a really nice line so it all lines up. In theory, I should maybe get a clip out and start clipping some of these things, but we're going to keep winging it and see how we do. That's why I kind of like having my stiletto nearby too. So I'm holding those seams together right now, and I'm going to get this started. And then I'm going to get my stiletto down here to kind of hold these there like it's a pin almost. There we go. And that's that. Let's get another leader. I should just get a whole little mini stack of both of these out here. They're in my little basket. Little is the word of the night. Should have a word of the day when we do these things. This guy here. Okay, and there we go. Let's just press that. So you'll see that it's I'm not always perfectly on. I'm blaming, oh gosh, I'm super far off here, but I am sort of blaming this gray fabric. It's way stretchier and does not act the same as the rest, but we committed to it in this quilt, so I'm just dealing with it. But I did not get those hardly lined up at all. See how we have that jog in there? That is, I mean, I'm almost tempted to take that out since it's going to be super visible in this little block, but you know what? I'm gonna make myself suffer through having a non-perfect block in here. I don't need to press it open either. We're just gonna leave it like that. Here's my not perfect 4 patch, which is kind of a bummer. All right, there we are. So let's see, where are we at now? We got our 5. Hey, that's a quarter of the way done. There's just 20 of these total. Ooh, look at this kind of fun shape that's happening there. All right, let's cross it off. No going back. All right, so I'm sort of tempted to just keep going down this list here. So this next one is a rail fence. A lot of times with the rail fence, you can do a lot more strips than what I'm doing, but I'm doing it with just 2 colors. So let's see, what do we got here? So this is 4 inches, so this is just 2 inches. So this is a 1 inch by 2 inch strip that we have to add a 1/2 inch to, so it's really a 1.5 inch by 2.5 inch strip, and we can really cut all of these together, kind of like what we're doing with the granny square quilt. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 8, and then 9 and 10 with the 1/2 inches. So that's 10 inches by 1.5 inches. So we need we need 2 10.5 by 1.5 inch. Wait, no. 10 inch by 1.5 inch strips, 1 in the gray and 1 in a color. Yes, that makes sense. That's what we're doing. Okay. This will all make sense. So I am going to cut these separate. Normally you would just stack these on top of each other and cut, but again, this is a bear of a fabric to work with. So let's where did we cut that other nice cut out of here? We had a nice straight cut. Here we are. Okay, let's get 10 inches out of here. And I'm going to just assume that this is a good cut still. So actually, I'm going to rotate it so I can just cut on this side. We're going to cut 10 inches. I'll probably cut a little over 10 inches by 1.5. Yes, 1.5. Okay. Gotta check that I'm thinking this through straight. Okay, 10. Let's just go to the 11. So I'm just going to cut it up like this and over, and then we'll just chop it off at the bottom here. All right, we're doing it. 1.5. Get my finger out of the way there. Okay, and I'm just going to trim this bottom little bit off too. That should be good. So if I was doing this both with that nice, just easy, fabric here, and I think I'm just going to grab this one, it's on the top, it'd be easier. And, these are all super wonky from us cutting weird things out of it, so that's another reason that it's not the easiest for me to just stack 2 pieces of fabric on top of each other for this. I think, gosh, you know what, this is straight enough. I might just do the exact same thing, kind of fussy cut a piece out of here. So like right here. 1.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I sort of added a bit. Ugh, this makes me nervous, but we're doing it. 1.5. This would be pretty. This bright pink. Okay, and let's just get it a little this way. Good. All right, that can go in our basket for the back of the quilt later. All right, I feel good. So next up, we are going to sew both of these strips together, and then we'll end up with something that looks like this, and then we'll start chopping it up like what we did with the granny square to get all of our units. We need 4 units out of here. So we'll press it as well. So we'll sew along the line here. Actually, we're going to do the big on the bottom, so let's go like so. And then we'll press and then cross cut it. So this is one of those tricks. Like if you're making a ton of them, just a pile of strips, cross cutting them, and then you'll have all your units. So if we were doing a giant quilt of this, that's what we do. So now here's where I went wrong with the granny square blocks. I wasn't very good at this 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to just pay extra close attention. Try and get this seam allowance nice and straight and not super wiggly like how I did the granny squares. And then I think our pieces will match up a little bit better. All right, and another leader and ender. I know this takes a little bit more time, me doing this other kind of scrappy quilt as we go, but it's the magic quilt that's happening as we sew other things. All right, let's trim that. All right, so we got our strip. Let's give this a press. I think it'll be easiest to... I know normally... Well, let's do that. Let's press to the dark side. Again, I keep questioning myself on a lot of this stuff because this fabric is so stretchy that I feel like I have to change things for it a little bit. Ooh, these are pretty together. 2 things I normally wouldn't have put together, this stripy gray with this pretty like watercolory pink, but I think they're gonna be kind of pretty. All right, cross cut time. I think this is gonna be the fun part. So these need to be ooh, I can tell it's trying to stretch a little funny. These need to be 2.5 inches, so we should have enough. Yeah, we should have enough. I did measure, so we should have enough. So let's trim off that edge just so we have a nice edge. And then I'm going to rotate my mat. We'll do the 2.5s. So this is our 3rd block of the night, right? So I'm thinking if we could continue to do like 3 blocks a night, we would almost be done. Ugh, geez, I got paranoid just there. Yep, that's 2.5 inches. We wouldn't quite be done. We need 17. Well, at the beginning of today, we needed 17 more. So there's 20 total. So we won't quite get done, but we'll be close with all these, which is awesome because then we can start laying it out when we have all of them. That'll be fun. Okay. That guy's out of here. And now we basically kind of have a 4-patch again. So let's rearrange these. So now it's the like rotating game. I guess we just kind of like so. I think that looks about right. So do we want, I think we want the grays on the outside though, because our there we go. Our quilt, the sashing pieces will be touching this, so if the bright sashing colors can touch more gray than the other colors, I think that'll be nice. So we'll go like so. So let's sew these two together, then these two. Actually, I think we can keep them the same like what we did last time. So we're mimicking these look exactly the same, and then we'll press them in the same direction, and then hopefully we can get them to match up a little bit better than we did last time. Let's give it a go. Alright, there's our first one. I wonder if this is still called a rail fence when you just have 2 colors, because a lot of times people can put like 3 or 4 colors in a row like this, and put them together, like, sew strips together like how we did, but more than just the 2 colors, and then put them back together. But we're just kind of trying to stick to the 2 colors and only doing more than 2 when the block like absolutely needs to have that. Okay. Let's press. Okay, so again, they should kind of look the same. I suppose the easy way to press would be this direction. Let's do that. Ugh, pretty. Alright. So our 2 pieces, so now we just have to rotate the one again. And there we go. So I'm going to try and match up those seams again, and let's see if I can do a better job. Again, I should probably clip these together, but I'm seeing what I can do without doing that. Didn't go so well with the first half, the first 4-patch tonight, but maybe this one can go a little bit smoother. And this will be another black done. It'll be fun working on this for the full week. We didn't work on it the full week last month. We just did it for, I think, 3 days. Ugh, I'm losing my scissors here. There we go. All right, let's press. Let's see what we got. Pretty. Oh, much, much, much better at matching these seams. So here we go. This is how they're supposed to be. Perfectly lined up both ways from that nesting the seams together. Not what it looked like on that other block where I had that big stair step. There is no stair step here. That looks fabulous. Good, so I made up for it with this block. Okay, we can cross that guy off too, and I think that'll probably be that for the night. Let's just see what we got on here. So we finished these 3 tonight. That's great. Well, take a look at them all again. But we did get a few more 2.5-inch squares cut off, and we'll need we'll need one for the log cabin here, so we'll probably do this one first. Man, and then we're in like half square triangle territory. That's a different territory altogether. I may, let's see, here's some more half square triangles. I may jump ahead and do this little snowball block because that's going to be easy. So tomorrow we can do this one and this one. And then, let's see. Then maybe this guy, this bow tie one, is very similar to the 4-patch. We just are adding one extra step. So I'm thinking this guy, log cabin, and the snowball tomorrow. And then we'll be full on half square triangle for a whole pile of these. So we'll just start cranking out half square triangles. And some of these, like these two, for example, and these 3 actually are all the same size half square triangles. So we can just cut a whole pile of stuff and just crank it out. We can probably even get another one done. Well, there's a lot of pieces here, but yeah. So I think tomorrow, log cabin, bow tie, snowball. You know, maybe we can squeak another one in there. Maybe this Irish chain, that's just some squares. And yeah, we're going to have to spend a period of time just on half square triangles, I think. All right, let's take a look at them all. Coming together, and I'll show you again kind of how the plan is to use these. I'll grab a block. So I'll show you them first, and then I'll kind of show you the end goal with this if you're not quite sure what we're doing here. There we go. So we have 6 units so far, and these are going to be part of the Aurifill block of the month. And let's just, I'll show you that again. So we'll have these big sashing pieces. So let's just kind of scooch these, and then we'll have like a block. So let's throw a block down here. So the block will have sashing all the way around it. And the sashing is big and crazy. We went wackadoodle with this sashing, I think. Just large and just kind of playful and fun like this. I'm going to get you guys up a little higher so we can see this. So, I mean, it's kind of crazy. We're kind of actually... The idea here for me was to almost like minimize the design of the blocks because all the blocks are so different that instead of showcasing them, I'm kind of like melding them together a little bit more. So I think adding the crazy sashing is doing that. And then we would have these guys in the corners. So these are called cornerstones when they're in a quilt like this. So this is an over-the-top quilt. It's kind of a gamble. I'm not really sure how I'm going to feel about this, but I'm digging the process for sure. And we're just going to have like this bright, fun quilt with these kind of blocks on the inside. But this is the plan for these. They're going to go in the cornerstones. So another block would go here and here. And these would go in between every single big sashing piece, so like a border. And that is the deal. It's looking bright and crazy. I think it's going to be fun. We will just see, I guess. But that is the plan of what we're doing here. So, all right. So that's what we're using these little guys for. If you're wondering, what does this have to do with the Aurifill quilt? It doesn't. It's just how we're deciding to finish this up with this really big sashing. I think the big sashing, I wanted to make the quilt bigger because just with the blocks, like putting them close together, I would have to do like a big border or some other setting. And I just wanted to use up fabric. We use so much fabric in this quilt and I have so much extra. I want to use it. So that was an excuse to use up more of that. And this is fun. I wanted an excuse to do these little blocks and this turned out great for that. So we have 6 done. That means there's 14 more to go. And I think we have a plan. We'll start cruising through more of them this week. If anything, maybe next month we'll have to do like one more day worth of making these blocks. I think some of them get a little bit more complicated. Not complicated, but more intricate. So those will be coming up. And yeah, this is fun. I'm having a good time sewing these basic quilt blocks, like building blocks, building units of other quilt blocks. You could look at them that way too. All right, guys, thank you again for joining me here. I hope you had a great weekend and have a good rest of your week. I will see you tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. Have a good evening.